Right, let's get reaction now. Dear MP Kobus Marais joining us. Kobus, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. When I spoke to you, you clearly said there was some activity that you are getting reports was going on there. 50 people, including some who are in government and other places, either didn't show up or didn't have evidence. 100 documents, no evidence. Entities and persons went there and they said, look, we don't have any independent knowledge of what actually happened there. What happened? What went wrong in this investigation? Why were all these people unable to give us any information?
Well, let me first start by saying, when the president started to talk about, he gave some glimpse of the terms of reference of the panel. Now, and I was approached at number 99, the proverbial number 99 by the panel to ask if I will provide information surrounding the docking of the vessel. So I had two questions to them. I said, listen, what was your instructions? What is your terms of reference? I need to know what you must investigate so that I can decide on what information I must provide you. They were not prepared to do that. Then I asked them, if I provide you information and testimony, will I be able to check the correctness of your, at least the draft, only the portion that deals with the evidence that I will be giving? And they said, no, they can't do that. So I was very worried about what was the instruction of the panel and what was the terms of reference. Now, clearly, it was very, very limited in terms of their scope. Now, then you can't blame the panel, but you must blame whoever gave the panel instructions to investigate.
Yeah. I
can just say the information that the president said that is classified. Why is it classified? We in Parliament, the MCACC, give us a report and in an open public meeting every quarter of all export permits and all import permits. Now, I don't know about the equipment that the president is talking about in 2018. I know about what they refer to as rounds and shells that was ordered or permits was issued in 2019 and 2020. And normally you can only order things like that once the permit has been granted. So 2018 orders and equipment offloaded from 2018, that's a first that I've heard. He has not mentioned anything about the actual offloading, which was rounds and shells, which is basically bullets for AK-47 rifles, which we know that the Special Forces Regiment in Palabora do make use, and I've got no problem with that. I, in fact, know that the content of 6 to 7 containers was offloaded, and 7 containers was delivered to Mokopong Ammunition Depot on the Friday evening. But on that same Friday morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, when that 7 has already left Cape Town and Simonstown on their way to Mokopong, there was still activity of the cranes loading and lowering clearly crates and boxes into the cargo hull of the Lady R.
So this is important evidence. Do you think it would be evidence that would have at least helped the panel reach a different conclusion? Because, I mean, irrespective of what their scope is, their finding is that there is no evidence of any weapons being transported to Russia.
Remember, I don't know whether the American ambassador has claimed that weapons was loaded. I have been very clear right from the beginning that it was not weapons that was loaded. It was not weapons that was loaded. And I've been very clear, and my information right from day one is never claim it is weapons because it's not weapons. It is most probably components of weapons. So that doesn't make it weapons. It's also not classified as weapons at that stage. Now, the fact that the president is very blunt by saying no weapons was loaded, I agree with him there. But remember what the minister said. Initially, she said, F all was loaded.
Yeah.
Then she said, we did not load anything. And then she went further by saying, it might have been a clandestine individual party. Now, Philip Dexter from Armscor has also claimed exactly the same. Now, why would they come with the possibility of a clandestine party loading something? So I know it was not apples and pears that was loaded. Something was loaded, and if the president and the panel claim that nothing was loaded, he very clearly, his words was, no ammunition was loaded, no weapons was loaded. That was his words, no weapons.
Yeah.
And I fully agree with him. No weapons was loaded, but there were components loaded.
Because the president says no permit was issued for the export of arms and no arms were exported. So that's very clear that no arms were exported. Would you need permits for components?
That's weapons, yes.
Would you need permits for components of weapons to be exported out of the country?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's all under the NCAC Act. That even components or spare parts of ammunition, that permit must be issued. Even communication, parts of communication, and we've got a fair idea of what was loaded, but I'm not going to disclose it here because that might be classified information.
That's where I was coming to. That's where I was coming to. I'm saying the president saying, well, the which you mentioned also when I spoke to you the last time. You say, yes, some information could jeopardize the safety of the South African forces. If, for example, you divulge to me right now here on air, and also part of your job as an MP is to keep that information quite locked up. So is the president's decision not to release the full report then justified in that sense? Because if you were to challenge the rationale of the president not releasing the full report, he would say, well, the decision is based on defense and security of South Africa.
No. I can tell you, the week before that Lady R arrived at Simonstown, I was part of a closed session meeting in Simonstown, and some of the information what was shared with us there is highly classified. And I haven't even shared it with my leader of my party. So highly classified it was. So surely if they could have shared that with us in the classified circumstances, why can they not share this with us in the same classified circumstances in a meeting? So at this stage, they're not even prepared to share it with us in Parliament. Even in a redacted form, they're not prepared to share it. Why? That poses the question. So the president is not honest, he's not clear, and maybe the instructions to the panel were so limited that he has used that now to basically abscond him, saying that nothing was done wrong. I don't believe that, because my corroborated facts are just different to that. Bottom line.
Kobus, does it make sense to you? I mean, I'm just listening to it saying there was an order in 2018. It's delivered some 4 years later. Is that how it normally works? Would that be something that is plausible?
No. Absolutely, that in itself is irregular. Remember, when a permit is issued, it's normally valid for 45 days. You can then extend it once, but subsequent to that, you have to reapply for permits. And normally, when you apply for any permit considered and authorized by the NCACC gets reported on a quarterly basis to the Joint Standing Committee on Defence in Parliament. Now, I've gone through all my reports, and I am not aware of this equipment that the president is now claiming. I'm aware of what they describe as rounds and shells. That was permit that was issued in 2019 for about 11 million rand. And just over 11 million rand, and in 2020 for about 10 million rand. Both those units work at about 2 rand 2021 a unit, and that's typical AK-47 bullet. And we are aware that the special forces are using that. That's no secret. So that in itself, the procurement itself, is nothing wrong. But whether the permits were still valid, remember the other also reality. Any imports of ammunition or weapons or armament into South Africa by whoever or export by whoever, whether it's arms corps or whoever, never ever take place via Simonstown. It always go via Portnet, customs port of entries and exits, where all the government agencies are present, and none of them are present in Simonstown. So they were clearly bypassing official customs ports of entry and making use of Simonstown. Remember, it was also a very high level authorization for them to use to go that irregular route. And then the Lady R was even escorted into False Bay and Simonstown by the only two naval vessels that was partly serviceable at that stage, which was a new multi-mission inshore patrol vessel and the one frigate. So there's so much explanations that needs to be done, and if you start to unpack this, that it is just impossible that nothing was loaded. It's impossible.
Dear MP Kobus Marais, much appreciated. Thank you for your time. I have to leave it there because of our tight squeeze there.